Welcome back to the Farm to Table Show, where food freedom isn't just a hashtag, it's a lifestyle. And sometimes it's also a courtroom drama. The homestead world's been buzzing lately. First, we packed out the Ozarks Homesteading Expo. Neighbors teaching neighbors, families swapping skills, and enough sourdough starters traded that if they all rose at once, they'd block out the sun. Let me tell you, it was that big. And we're not done yet. The Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous is just around the corner. 6 days from now, we'll be in the thick of it again, proving that real community doesn't happen in a Facebook group. It happens when you shake a calloused hand and pass a mason jar. Sounds interesting. But while we're building, connecting, and feeding families, the powers that be, they've been busy flexing. Down in Florida, Keely Farms Dairy got slapped with the scarlet letter after the state tied them to an outbreak of raw milk illnesses. Never mind that they were selling it legally under Florida's for animal consumption only loophole. Oh no, never mind that their tests came back clean. The headlines, they wrote themselves. Evil raw milk strikes again, and regulators didn't wait around for facts before throwing a farm under the bus. Meanwhile, in Virginia, Triple Oaks Farm, operating as a private membership association, found itself staring down a lawsuit from the state for daring to serve its members raw milk and pasture raised meat. But here's the kicker, get this. Right before the hearing, the state tucked tail and dropped the whole case. Nothing says we've got an airtight argument like sprinting away from your own lawsuit. And here in Oklahoma, something different might be brewing. SB 939 is on the table, and recently Senator Rob Hall just called for a committee to explore how our lawmakers can protect food freedom instead of strangling it. That's right. Politicians in Oklahoma are actually talking about defending liberty. Mark your calendars, folks. We may look back and call this a turning point. So today we're putting it all on the table. Expos, PMAs, raw milk, lawsuits, legislation. Because the question isn't just will they let us farm? The real question is, are we going to stand together and make sure they can't stop us? Good morning to everyone, and good morning to everyone in the chat. Y'all are over there hopping and a popping. But before we go any further, I would be remiss if I did not have my brother come in and say good morning to you. So, good morning, bro.
Good morning, everyone. Looking forward to today's show. I think it's going to be a pretty good show.
Absolutely.
Some people say, well, you're sliding down that slippery slope of topics and everything like that. But, I wouldn't be going down that slippery slope if it wasn't from getting a little bit, what would you say, stirred up about, some of the things that we see, and at the very least, it's leaving a question mark, in our
Right.
how do you proceed forward, because, and we'll be getting into that, but
Right.
anyway, good morning, bro, and good
Yeah.
morning, tablers.
Okay. Yes, definitely. They are up and at it. They jumped right in on time. They were ready to go. So happy to see them over there. And
Hungry like a lion, they are.
yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's like you'd think we've been gone for a couple of weeks, not doing this normal
I,
thing. I don't know.
yeah,
No, hey, it's been a crazy hectic, like 2, 3 weeks there, and one more to go. One more to go. By the way, thank you, Pat Cotton. She just liked the episode. So awesome. So
good morning.
anyway, good morning, Pat. Uh, but anyway, so yeah, so bro, we just came back from Ozark. We gearing up for gearing up for rendezvous. What do you notice anything different about how these events are kind of like growing and evolving, or maybe changing?
I don't really see it as that the events themselves are changing as much as the outside world is changing, and we're trying to hold on to what we have. That's kind of where
Right.
I'm at. And what I think that does is it kind of like when the world is going crazy outside, we have people that we can
Right.
talk to, that we can network with, and try to keep our heads on straight.
Right.
Although the funny thing is that in today's society, it's like we got to keep our head on a swivel, but we got to find balance there. And I think that being a part of a community like the homestead community,
Right.
helps a lot. Helps
Oh
a
yeah.
person kind of deal with what they see going on out there. And we don't want to just harp on those things, but at the same time, food freedom is a thing. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
part of
Certainly.
today's topic is food freedom on trial, right? So.
Right, and I mean that's been a big thing, and I think it's, and we, yeah, folks, y'all will get to see more of these as we get them out over the next coming, days, weeks. We had several conversations, um, around with different people around this topic, at Ozarks uh, Expo, and of course it will be, front and center subject as well, there at Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous. I know I'm talking about, 7 steps of self reliance, and but I'm also working uh, with Brian DeShazo, and we're going to be talking about SB 939 and legislation there at, the rendezvous. So that it will be front and center there as well, and I think it's important. I mean, it's I like to go about my day and plan and do things, but at the same time, occasionally we do have to pull back and say what's happening in our neighborhood. You know, what's going around, what's happening, and sometimes get involved and put our hands on the wheel, so to speak, or put our hands to the plow and get out there and make it happen. And that's what SB 939 and some of the other stuff happening in the local area, is. And so, but anyway, so yeah, it's one of those things I'm looking forward to. I like what Scotty said there. Yeah, homestead community is where the true heart is. And uh, you know, Champ Homesteader has to adapt to changes and challenges that come up through time. Absolutely, absolutely, and that's part of the name of the game. But we reference those two cases, and we'll get into them a little more here in a bit. But I mean, you know, really prime examples of one side. I would say how the media, the mainstream media, or the lame stream, whatever you want to call them. But anyway, they set a narrative, and just went with it. There was no, and even the state just went, there was no thing there. Whereas on the other side with Triple Oaks up in Virginia, social media, the social pressure from locals, from other people. I learned of it from Joel Salatin on his blogs, where I first heard of the story, and they had a protest plan to be at that courthouse the day of the hearing. So they were going to be a whole lot of folks, and it was getting a lot of attention, uh, you know, publicly, and so in the court of public opinion, you know, uh, amid pressure, I believe that they realized this probably wasn't worth the fight. It was going to cost them more than it was going to. Uh, help them as far as the state. It wasn't gonna look good, on them, and so we'll get into the PMAs and stuff and whether that's a good model or not. But you know, I don't know, bro. What lessons can we take, away from that? Yeah.
I don't think as long as we're alive that I really don't want to call it a fight, but it seems to be a fight when regulators. It seems to me they don't like feeling like that they're losing control, and there's another side to the issue. As a food freedom advocate myself,
Right.
I think that two grown adults ought to be able to make decisions about what they eat
Yeah.
and where it comes from and who they buy from and all of that stuff.
Right.
But I also am not, it's not lost on me that there is a concern, for public safety,
Right.
and I mean, that's a real thing. But at the same time, um, that fight is not going to go away. And so we're
Right.
going to have to learn to get along with the other side. But sometimes it means that we have to stand up, especially um, us.
Yeah.
We believe in God, and we render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, as
Yep.
they say, but at the same time, if we just simply cow down every time, then where are we going to find ourselves? We're not just fighting for, a an idea as much as we're
Right.
fighting for what we put on the table for our family.
Yeah, that's it. And and that makes such a big impact. And you know, um, strive to get along with all men as much as it depends on ourselves. And hey, Chris, good morning, surviving in Alabama. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And you know, we've seen cases here where uh, one farm received absolutely no notification. They're being smeared through the mud without any, heads up. They don't even know, and they're, you know, and because of these people not doing the job, because the Department of Health not doing their job, uh,
Or were they?
or were they doing their job? But they weren't doing what they're
Right.
supposed to be doing. Okay, let me rephrase that. We'll never really know because because the testing wasn't done when it should have been done, and the public wasn't notified when they should have been notified. And you know, uh, but
To
then
be
well, so I say on Triple Oaks, on the other hand, it was through there was legal measure taken and there was things done, but so we we've seen a big difference in what uh, the two differences there, where by the time the public became aware of Keely Farms, or at least the larger public outside of the local area, well, this stuff had already happened. This is all stuff in the background. It's all now we're hearing the story. Whereas with Triple Oaks, because there was a lawsuit and because there was stuff and notifications, well, people were able to become aware and support was able to be rallied. You know, so and
Right,
like I
there was a
said,
difference, and one of the things, that I wanna point out there was something going back to TVA, which was the
right,
Tennessee Valley Authority situation,
right,
um, and, I remember that we were talking about, even prior to going to Ozarks, about how the court of public opinion can be changed. And I think that that's what we've seen going on with John Rich coming out and standing up against the TVA. For those
right.
who don't know John Rich, he is a performing artist,
Country
and
music, yep.
country music performing artist, and has a lot of influence. He's not controlled by, I guess, anyone,
The labels or anything like that, for sure.
anything like that, but he still has that kind of influential power that if he speaks out or makes a song about something, a lot of people hear that. And so, it brought up in my mind, I'm thinking, well, we don't have the money to fight some of these people in courts because we're talking about,
Oh
government
yeah,
budgets. We're talking about large corporation budgets that are interests that would really rather not have the competition or whatever it happens to be as their motive. But we can't afford to fight that because they can just drag that out financially until we're completely financially wrecked. Um, um, so what about the court of public opinion and in influencers? And that's what seems to have happened at the TVA, the
right.
Texas Valley Authority situation.
Tennessee, Tennessee.
Sorry. All right, Texas, you're right. Tennessee. Um, and possibly also what happened with Triple Oaks, right?
I believe so. I believe
But
that had a lot to do with it. But yeah,
the Keely Farm situation, the raw milk dairy situation that happened down there, as far as I can tell, and especially if you guys have listened to or watched the things we put out to where we were visiting with John Moody about that, they had absolutely no idea. And that went on from January to August before it ever came to their attention. They said, we were blindsided about this. So it almost had that appearance is that we want to give them a black eye by giving them no chance to respond.
right.
It's like being sucker punched, right?
Right.
and
A-
no warnings, nothing. You just get whacked,
Yeah.
and
And that was it. I think that's exactly what it was there. And and like I said, we've seen where there's time and opportunity for, be it the homestead community or be it local communities, and certainly if you get somebody of, in the TVA situation, John Rich, in the Keely or in the Triple Oaks, Joel Salatin, where somebody with influence, somebody with people who follow, has influence to use that, and all of a sudden public pressure becomes, pretty big, and to get the TVA to back down, that's big pressure.
they never lost the case,
Never
right?
lost a court case in their hundred,
Since
their
1930
30
something,
something.
36 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and so I mean that's a whole thing. Was it's just how much, So when you have that and you can't beat their budget, you can't beat their budget, and so it had to, and that was John Rich's answer. Well, let's see how they do under the scrutiny and the microscope of public opinion and the public being aware, and and that's where he went, and seems to have had success. So, but speaking of, hey, great public figures, I think it's
Yeah,
time. You think
it
it's
is
time?
time.
All right. Do we have a guest spotlight on him? Do we have that? Let's see.
Do we have a guest spotlight on him? Well, sure
Uh,
we do. We're about
uh,
to. Well,
how about
um,
that? There we go. All right. Good morning, Dwayne. How are we today?
Good morning. We're alive and awake this
Glad to
morning.
see you. Well, there
are
we
you?
go.
Guys.
Is she bringing you a cup of coffee?
Oh, I got a cup of water here. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're good. So anyway, Dewayne, obviously we've been talking about some of the interview things that we had at Ozarks, especially John Moody. I don't know if you got to listen or visit with John Moody much when you were up there, but one of the topics that had come up, and John Moody is co-founder of
Rogue
uh,
food.
Rogue Food Conference, and he's also a food freedom advocate, and it's got an interesting story. And he kind of like is a no holds barred kind of guy. I mean, he just says what he feels, or what he thinks. And so, um, the visit, was talking about, what you probably heard us talking about there, Dwayne. You got any thoughts on? Well, I don't want to get too controversial here, but government overreach, because I know in the past, Dwayne, that you're no stranger to that.
No, and I did not get a chance to see him at the Ozark event.
Right.
They kept me really hooked up there at the Goat and Sheep Education Center, and so I didn't get away to visit hardly anyone. Okay, but that's okay. That's okay. We were helping a lot of folks, but you know we we've had some issues in the past, and guys, we've had these issues for a long time, but they've just gotten larger and larger and larger and larger in the control of the food society out there. I had some issues with some an agency. I don't know who got the burr under their saddle, and they were telling me all kinds of things until I finally pulled up all the information from their own agencies and showed it to them. But
Right.
that was about a year and a half to 2 years uh, of going. Are they going to try to stop people from having an alternative medicine option?
Yeah.
But it's out there. It's real, and we have to work through it every day. I think the big thing is we really people pulling together is going to be the key to this thing.
Right.
No one person can change this on their own.
Right. So I want to kind of get just kind of your thoughts on maybe the motivation of the regulators, because I don't want to demonize them as being, just mean people. Maybe they genuinely feel like they have a mandate to protect people. And do you think that it's just basically rooted in that, or do you think that it's, just as they say, power corrupts, and complete power corrupts completely, kind of thing? Meaning to say that they don't take kindly to people challenging their authority.
Well, I think this goes back 50, 75, 100 years. It could go back actually even further than that. And if you want to control something, what you do is you start to educate people in the thoughts and the ways that you want to control them in. And I think we've got a lot of these agencies out there that the people, like you said, they actually think they're there to help someone.
Mhm.
And the only reason they're there, they think they're helping someone, is because when they went through school or they received their training, this is what they were taught. They were taught
Right.
this is how you help people. And so we need to re-educate these people. They need to understand that they need to see the evidence of that. Is that going to be a hard road to hoe? Yes, that's going to be a hard road to hoe. I know that personally. I mean, I was showing it to them in black and white, and they still didn't want to look at it, but they finally
Right.
did. So I think that's where a lot of it's coming from, because I think there's good people out there, ordinary, everyday, good, hardworking people, but they're just misinformed.
Right.
That's the same
So
thing with our
in your,
society.
Right.
so in your case, Dwayne, was it a new individual that had come into their organization? I think we're talking about ODAF, maybe. Is that the correct agency?
It was actually had to do with the alcohol of making tinctures,
Right.
which was the Able Commission.
Right.
And yes,
Okay.
there was new people come in and decided a totally new regime. We're going to do all these things, and all that boiled down to one person that had no clue about herbal tinctures, trying to tell me what was going on, and he did not read from the Treasury website. And when I finally got them to actually read what they sent me from the Treasury website, then all of a sudden everything went quiet because they didn't like it.
Right. And so is this a uh, kind of an atmosphere that they live in? Like you said, it was their training, probably in school. This is the way you help people. But in general, around them, they have this. I mean, they are regulators, and so they have a regulator mentality, I guess. And um, and I can speak a little bit to this. Um, Whenever I was working for the airlines, I was a flight attendant, and I absolutely um, knew what my position was, what I was supposed to do. But sometimes when you would advise people, and people would just be they were really hard headed about, like, put your safety belt on, or put your seat belt on. We're going through some turbulence right now, Um, we can recommend it. We're not allowed to enforce it, right?
Right.
We weren't enforcers. We were more like advisors. But I've seen some cases to where, some flight attendants absolutely let their position go to their head, and they would get downright mean about it. And um, and so you recognize that whenever you've been put into a responsibility level, that is what's going on. So it's not surprising to me that they would react in that way. So So you got that resolved, and have they since stayed kind of off your back about that thing, or you're back to business as usual?
It's they left me alone because what it boils down to, they wanted me to acquire this certain license,
Hmm.
and the license did never applied to me to begin with.
Hmm.
Right.
And it was all about, I want you to get this license because we want to make sure a tax is being paid.
Ah,
But it had nothing to do with me. And so
right.
all of this whole mess came up about that. And then them pushing their authority morphed into other things. And
Right.
then that had to be cleared up. And so now they're going like, I'm just going to leave him alone.
Well, that's okay.
Very much.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, so Dwayne, I'm gonna kind of pull back. I mean, we've kind of, excuse me. I had asked if anybody had questions for you over the chat, and the comment was, "I always have questions for Dwayne, but now that I can ask, I can't think of one." So, uh,
yeah.
anyway, tends to be the case. But listen, Dwayne, you were just at Ozarks, of course, as we were referencing, and how busy you were there. And we've got Rendezvous coming up next weekend. Uh, Besides education, what do you see the events get? What do you see they like these events of the rendezvous and the expos accomplishing beyond education? Yeah.
I'm going to the biggest thing I see these events accomplish is a sense of belonging, a sense of camaraderie. Because when you're out there by yourself on a homestead and you're busting your butt every day, you're up at when the sun comes up, you don't go to bed until way after the sun goes down, and it's a hard life, guys.
Oh
It
yeah,
is. It's hard work. It is hard work. And sometimes you get a little disillusioned and you're
right,
going, man, does anybody else have the issues that I have? Does anybody else have to go through this? And then, but when you get together with all these other like minded people there, it's just like
right,
going to church. You
right,
know, you look around you and go, you know what? I'm not the only one. I'm not all by myself. There's a lot of us
right,
out there that believe that this is what we need to be doing. And we get to help one another and we build those relationships. And even from time to time, those relationships develop that, if somebody's having an issue somewhere, then they'll call someone that they met
right,
at one of these events that can help them. And it's that whole team effort that together we achieve more.
right,
I believe that's the number one thing that comes out of these events. You're not alone.
right. I think that's a valuable thing. I mean, like you said, the isolation that can happen, especially if you don't live in a around a community of others. If you're physically geographically you're separated as it is. You know, but
Well, it's like the pioneers when they
right,
started moving west, they were all by themselves.
Mhm.
right,
It was a hard life, being there all alone. But if you've got a friend or you got somebody
right.
over the next hill over there, you feel a lot better about it.
Right. Yeah, I think generally speaking, the human condition, generally speaking, most of us don't do well alone. You know, for long periods of time, we at least have to have some, you know, community or some sense of belonging somewhere. Um, and I think that probably is what I have so much just amazement at the frontier movement that happened was, they were so isolated, yet they continued. Many didn't make it, but and threw up their hands and left. But for those that did, they had a certain toughness, a certain mental toughness, um, and so I respect that, and I do agree. Our network of people continues to grow every time we go to an event,
Mhm.
and the ones we've seen before, it's old friends, and it's gathering time, but then. always looking forward to meeting somebody new. And so, oh, yep. And Chris Thompson, it's so important to have each other. Yes. And, that's an absolute fact. And that is, if there is a plus to the socials, I guess that is that we can reach out a little easier, but nothing like being in person. Nothing like being in person. So, Dewayne, what's been going on with I know you've been busy with the expo, obviously, but what's up with Red Feather Farms?
Well, I always, I don't think you could pick a time of the year that wouldn't be a busy time of the year, but I always say this is a busy time of the year for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Between the expos that we're doing, but we're coming into wintertime, and that means we need to have, hay put up. We need to have feed put up. Feeding season here on the farm. You got to separate does and put bucks with those. And I just got back from Pat's, and that's one of the things that we were doing there.
Right.
It's preparing for winter. And I was going, well, damn it, Dewayne, it's been 95 degrees outside and preparing for winter. And that's what you're doing. Well, that's what you do. Because if you don't prepare now,
right,
you don't wait till December to prepare for winter. So it's a busy time right now, and it's a fun time because you start to see things change. I mean, I can sit and look out my window right now, and I'm going, I'm going to be eating persimmons,
right,
and that's a major marker for me. When persimmons, which I love persimmons, but when persimmons comes off, that tells me there's a change.
Yep. Well, I think my deer probably agree with you. So they're ready for that persimmons to turn. But
right. So just to bring people up to speed in chat, or people who may be viewing this after the fact, we are here with our friend Dewayne Hall from Red Feather Farms, and we've known him for a little more than a couple of years now, and I just wanted to kind of let him kind of give you the backstory on Red Feather Farms, kind of what he does, and I also want to say that whenever we go to the rendezvous, we go to Ozarks or wherever we get to meet each other, it's always like a reunion there. And I feel so blessed to call Dewayne Hall a good friend, a brother. And anyway, Dewayne, kind of tell people what you do. I know that's a lot.
You've heard that old saying about jack of all trades and master of none. Well, if you're going to live on a farm, you're going to acquire those skills.
Right.
We here at Red Feather, we are pulling together. This is a place of respite. If you look at the sign out by the gate, the sign says to leave your worries and duty at the road, that you're entering sacred ground. And that's how we want things here. We want our plants that we grow here. We want our animals that live here. We want anyone that comes here to be able to find that peace that's there.
Right.
And so we raise elderberries. What do you do with all those elderberries? Well, we make natural medicine with them. That's what we do. I started raising elderberries because I got tired of going out and wildcrafting them and getting the ticks and the chiggers and everything else. So it's a little easier. I can control it here on the farm.
Right.
And we raise Tex-Master meat goats. That started several years ago. A buddy and I decided we were going to get into the goat business. And so, I'm sorry, guys, my phone went off. And so we started looking at breeding to do, and so we went up in Missouri, bought a bunch of does, and I went to research what to do as far as put a buck on them. I met Cotton. This was probably 10, 11, 12 years ago now. Went to her place. I was in hog heaven, man, because we walked around looking at goats all day long, and I just thought that was magnificent. And Pat, bless her heart, she had enough patience that she actually walked around with me. We looked at bucks, and I said, we'll be back tomorrow to pick the buck. And she's probably going, this guy's leaving the country. I bought in this one particular buck, and she said, not for sale, not for sale. And I kept asking. Well, she finally sold me that buck. And that buck was named Atlas. He was a Tennessee meat goat buck. And she cried as we loaded him up. But he is what gave us our start in our genetics here. And we have grown that to, I think we've got some pretty decent genetics with the help of Pat Cotton. So our whole goal here, raise wholesome foods. I want to feed them healthy because I eat them, and I want other people to be able to eat that and get a advantage there. And then we raise our elderberries. We have a lot of other herbs and things like that we raise here on the farms that we try to provide for people. I can't provide everything. I can't do everything. But those are the two main things that we do here on the farm. And it's grown and morphed, and we're enjoying the ride.
Got a quick question. Chris Thompson asked, what kind of goats and sheep do you recommend for beginners?
Well, one of the things that I would first off, you need to look at your property and see, do you have goat property or do you have sheep property? And animals, sheeps are grazers, goats are more browse. So you want to identify what type of animal would be best on that property. There's a whole list. If you want to spin wool and make things out of wool breeds. If you don't want to do that and you just want to produce meat, then I would look at some of the breeds. They're called hair sheep because their wool falls off every year. If you're going to graze goats, well, Zig Ziglar used to say, he said, you have to believe in your product with so much conviction that you could not understand why anybody would want to have anything other than what you have. Well, yeah. I've raised most all the goat breeds out there. And to me, the Texmaster is the best breed that there is out there if you're going to raise for meat. Now, if I was milking and I was going to make cheese and things, I'd go with a dairy breed. Right. Yes, that would be, a Texmaster cross. Take a cross doe, put a Texmaster buck on them. You need to find the animal that fits your purpose.
Right. Well, I know she part of that question was for beginners, and I know you had told me it's better to make a mistake on a $100 or $300 goat than $1,000 goat.
That's all right.
So I mean,
start with something, and there's a learning curve. There's a learning curve there. So start with something you can afford, because I promise you. Right. Even at this stage, Pat's been raising goats even a lot longer than I have, but we lose goats from time to time. There's just things that happen. Sometimes you walk out there and the goats feed up, and you may never know what happened. Everything right. It just happened. So yeah, there's a learning curve there. So, I'm progressing in this thing. Right. So start off the not as expensive goat. You can find those out there today.
So Dewayne, is there what I would call a bridge goat, meaning to say, what's the best breed of goat? If your final goal is like, I want to do Texmasters, but I need to learn the ropes first, are they all pretty much the same, or is there a better breed to bridge them between their beginner until they graduate to Tex Master.
Well, I would. There are certain breeds that are going to cause you more headache, especially you not knowing. Okay, and I know there's probably some people out there that may be listening or whatever, and they may go, "Oh, don't say that," but the most popular breed out there is going to be your redheads or your boar goats,
Right.
and those are going to be some of the hardest ones to race because they're more susceptible to parasites. You have more issues because they've been babied when they were first brought over here, genetically defined for that. If I were going to go pick a goat today and just start, and this is what I picked, I went and got some Kiko boar cross does. And that's what I started with. And I think if you're going to run just a commercial operation, that Kiko boar cross, that boar puts a little bit more meat in it, puts a little more growth in it. The Kiko, that breed doesn't have a lot of meat in it, but it is one of the most parasite resistant. They are wonderful mothers. They'll have them babies on top of a telephone pole and raise them. They don't have a lot of feet problems. They're a lot easier. And, kind of get your feet wet doing that, and then put you a Tex Master buck over those if you just want commercial. And then you can move into having more and more Tex Master influence.
Right. But I just want I just want the curry and the barbecue and the but
Yeah.
anyway, so I guess, bro, we need to get into show and tell. I'm looking at the clock up there, and I think it's time for us to. We always have a guest bring a show and tell item, and we don't know what it is. And now Dwayne's had a couple of weeks to prepare because we were going to do this last week, and my job got in the middle of that. So, but he told me he has it, and we're going to enjoy it. So we're going to hand this over to you, Dwayne, on show and tell. What do you got?
Well, guys, I'm going to do my best to make it through this with show and tell with you guys. Because when you told me when we talked and you said do a show and tell, it was seconds after I hung up the phone, I felt what I needed to do.
Okay.
And this is my show and tell. You guys see this?
Old campfire cup. Yeah. Old 10 cup there.
Well,
yeah.
I love
it's an old measuring cup. I
Old
don't know if
measuring
I
cup.
turn it
Okay.
around.
There I
See
I've
that?
seen the numbers. Yep. Okay. Yep. There we go. Wow.
You see it's beat up, it's banged up. You see the bottom.
Right.
This cup was my granddad's cup.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the story behind my granddad. My granddad actually accidentally shot his right hand off when he was 19 years old, coming back in from squirrel hunting to feed the family. And they had to cut it off. It was taken off at the wrist. And from there, my granddad raised 6 kids, farmed, and provided. And he never considered himself disabled. My granddad is my role model in life. When I was in the black and white schools together. Now, we didn't have an issue because we all worked together in the fields anyway.
Right.
We didn't understand why we weren't going to school. I was like in the 2nd grade. There was a man that was the superintendent at the black school, he was over grade school at that time. And when everybody was released out in the halls, his name was Mr. B.J. Graves. Asked every child, who's your grandparents? Who's your parents? He was getting to know everyone. And back then, that's what you did. You asked people who their parents were. And I told him who my grandparents were. And he started calling me Little Mr. Neil. My granddad's name was Neil Kinnemer.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why he took a shine to me. I didn't understand. And I was talking to my granddad, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I know BJ." I said, "Well, what's the deal, Granddad?" Made sure that Mr. BJ had work to be able to save up enough money for him to go to college and get his, so that he could go in and teach school. Now, for a lot of folks, that may not mean a lot.
Wow.
But to me, there was a man that saw a future in someone and did anything he could to make sure that man had.
Right.
And Mr. BJ always checking on me. He was that my granddad did that. That man with just one hand did that to make sure he paid it forward to take care of other people.
Right.
I always said if I grow up to be half us, I will accomplish big things. So my show and tell today is I can remember my granddad drinking out of this measuring cup many a time. And that reminds me every day of where I came from.
Well,
That's my
Dewayne,
story. That's my story.
I love what you shared, and
Absolutely.
I just want to say thank you for sharing that with
Absolutely.
us, because it helps us to know the type of individual you are. And of course, Ryan and I already had a clue about that, a few clues, but
Yep.
that is an amazing story. And I love the cup, the tin cup. It used to sit next to the sink at my granny's house.
Yep.
And I drank from a tin cup when I was a kid. And when you showed that to me, that's the first thing I thought of. And yeah, just thank you for sharing that with us, Dewayne. And I can see why it would be so meaningful.
Right. And
And
so saying, I'll say, and I mean, just the stories you've shared before, about your grandfather and y'all's relationship and stuff. I already knew this was going to be one of them great ones when you started. But I will say, Dwayne, just as a friend and a brother, you've got that spirit. You've been a help to so many, and so willing to help others and lift others up. So I think you're doing well on your goal to be like your grandfather. So,
and I
hats
want
off.
to say, I also want to say that to the people over in chat that
Yeah.
I've had a few hugs in my life, but Dwayne's probably the one that when you hug Dewayne, he's a hugger.
Yeah.
He from the heart of this man what kind of man you're hugging there. The love that this man has for people is
Right.
second to none. And we love you,
Yeah.
Dwayne Hall.
But yeah. Yes,
I love
absolutely.
you guys.
And
The
Yeah.
Creator
So
has put people in my path that is awesome.
right. But,
And you guys are part of it. Just like a lot of these folks that we meet at these homesteading events.
right.
I think that's together, each of us can achieve more when we have.
Yeah. Absolutely. We'll share a couple of comments over here. Somebody, Terry said, I have goat property, but not a goat wife. And then, and me and Terry have a lot in common. And our friend Scotty said I'm an old goat out to pasture. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's anyway, and listen to this. Now this is Shane Cody going to get in the fields for you. So Dwayne Hall's like another grandpa to me. So, that's, But anyway,
I,
old Code Man, he's all
if
right.
you guys have been around the homestead world, you've met Pat's little granddaughter Esme, okay?
Right.
And I spent a lot of time down there. And one morning, and she looked at me and she calls me Mr. Dewayne. Mr. Dewayne. So, Mr. Dewayne, you're
Right.
old. I looked, and I said, Esme. And she says, that's okay, because you're like grandpa to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
And when she said that, I compliment any day.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's yeah, you gotta love kids. There's no guile. There's no filter. It's just honest feelings. Um, we were talking about the
That's it.
community and kind of how we need each other. And I didn't miss it, but I did when I had a chance to bring it up. Scotty said he was isolated most of his life till he got married and became part of the homestead community on YouTube. Brought me out of my shell. And Scotty, you definitely came out of your shell.
Yeah, for sure.
He's one of our regular commenters and jokesters at large.
That's one that I want to get off not off of social media, but to meet him
Yep,
off of
yeah.
social
Oh, I
media.
know it. I know it. He lives out in Dewayne to catch up. Scotty, he's in the socials with us on a lot of the lives, and he comes on ours. And he lives out by Boston, out on the East Coast. And but yeah, that's always our goal. It's like we're going to figure out some place, somewhere, some way to have Scotty join us just to meet him in person because he keeps us in stitches around here
Yeah.
on the pages. But anyway, well, bro, do you want to hit rapid fire real quick?
Well, actually, before I do that, I want to
Uh,
talk to Dewayne about the
okay.
upcoming Homestead Rendezvous and
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
yeah. We ought to do that.
yeah, because I mean that's next weekend. Now we're going to
Yeah.
be there on Thursday. I
Right.
know that they're getting together as early as Wednesday, but we'll be there on Thursday.
Right.
And just tell us a little bit about what your plans are out there. I remember I've got an unforgettable experience there last year with a particular goat. I know that and anytime I see a goat, I'm thinking they probably don't want to see me again. I don't know. But anyway, yes, I laid at a goat in a certain way, not a bad way, guys.
Don't worry, I have Pat on video doing the same thing this year, so you're okay.
Oh, okay. Right. So
and and the response of the goat was about the same. So
right. So, Dewayne, just tell us a little bit about what you got planned for the Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous coming up next week on the 26th and 27th of September.
We plan on being there, show up on Thursday and start setting up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got Pat and I both will be there. We'll be bringing goats. We'll be setting up the Goat Education Center there. We've got a new little twist on that this year that we're working. When we were up at the Ozarks Homesteading Expo, we were testing it out, seeing how to work, but we've now got a big TV that we set up,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a remote camera so that when Pat is showing things and everyone crowds around, you can't see. So I'm actually being able to video this and put it directly up on this TV screen so people can see better. We're doing our best to get that presentation and so that people can understand and see everything and not miss much that way.
right.
But we start off on Friday morning.
Right.
I'll be speaking on goats, and what we'll be talking about, the topic will be goats, and that'll follow up with a 2:00 demonstration on parasites, how to collect fecal samples, actually how to run fecal samples. We'll be looking at them under a microscope, and we've connected that to the TV so people will be able to see exactly what they're looking at, and we'll teach them how to do the same thing. Because if you take a fecal sample to a veterinarian today, it's anywhere from $50 to $60 at least just to run one sample. So we're going to teach people how to do that themselves there on the homestead.
Right.
And of course, Pat and I will be around to answer questions. Okay. We will have have our goat and sheep supply up with all the different things that you need to raise goats and sheep. Saturday morning, I'll be speaking, I believe, at 10 o'clock. Let's back up to Friday. Friday afternoon, we're a lot of the speakers that are there. It's a Q&A so that people can come and ask questions. I think that's going to be a big thing there. Okay. Saturday morning, I'll be speaking herbal medicines, and the topic there is going to be heavy metal detox and parasite cleanse.
Okay.
And we're going to go through the protocol of how to do all of those things and any other questions. And then we'll be back at 2 o'clock doing demos. We'll be talking about conformation of goats, giving injections, different things that you need to know as a starting off in the goat world. And again, we have that panel at the end of the day, a part of there also. We'll have our Red Feather Farms herbal booth there. And so he's there. I would be there early Friday morning, guys, right at the start. We'll have an opening, and I have an opening speech to give. And it's going to be the resettling of America. And just to explain to people why.
I got yeah. So I got a little sneak peek of it the other day, and it's good stuff. You definitely want to be there to hear it. So, yeah. But so yeah, looking forward to that. So you're going to be pretty.
It'll set the tone, I believe.
I think you're right, Dewayne. And it's going to be a great weekend there and a lot to do. And I know it. I get during the time that I spent videoing at Ozarks. I will say this: that the presentation, and particularly with the microscope and everything, is quite interesting. And love that technology you've brought in to be able to show it, because that's something that the average person, never gets to see unless they're really in the business, I guess you might say. But and you definitely had crowds all over there all that whole weekend. So I expect it to be the same coming up at Rendezvous. I expect you're going to have a lot of attention over there and a lot of people. I know we've had some people specifically say they were coming to hear the goat guy. So.
Yes.
Well,
so, bro, what
a lot of people see me speak.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
But, and that makes a difference. No, you're okay. No, you're no, you're right.
Y'all need to grab Pat and talk to her. Pat's probably forgot more than I'll ever know. Okay.
Right.
I just happen to be the dog and pony show on that, but Pat is where the real knowledge is at. And so make those demonstrations, be there.
Yeah. Terry said his wife was shocked at how much fecals cost. She used to be a vet tech back in the day. Yeah.
And they're simple to run.
All right. And Chris says she's so excited for this year, and would agree with that. So yeah, and that's the thing with it. A lot of times it's and Terry, again, I was looking forward to the herbal talk, but hearing what specifically you're talking about, I'm really excited now. So yeah,
well, the good news is Terry, you can get both of those. You can learn both sides of that, because Dewayne knows about both sides of that, and I highly recommend both of them. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So, bro, we probably need to wrap this thing up. We're already about 2 minutes before the top of the hour. Right. And I know it'll take you a few minutes to get things wrapped up there. But before we do that, I want to give Dewayne an opportunity to tell people where they can find him if they want more information, either about goats or about herbalism. And I'll just give you the floor to tell people where they can find you.
Well, probably the easiest way to get in touch with me is through Facebook Messenger, and it's Red Feather Farms. Okay. And you can follow the Facebook page, and then you can send me a message through there. You can also Dewayne Hall on Facebook. It's that way. There it is right there. I have a YouTube channel also that Pat and I put up videos on. And you can also get a hold of Pat. Pat's got bending.com, and you can email her there, both. And you'll have our phone number, things like that on it if you want to do that. Different ways to get in touch with us. Probably Facebook is one of the easiest to message us that way.
Right. So
when we're at the expo,
and yeah, it's a really. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just putting things up there so that
when we're at the expo, you'll find us in the corner over there. You know, they stick us over in the corner, you know, because we're the goat people over there. But you'll be able to find it. You'll see the goat in the center. You see all the goats. We're not hard to miss. Okay.
Yeah, they kind of got a big area, but that's okay. It's worth it. Good. Yeah. Thanks, bro, for bringing that up. Terry's on the ball as our moderator and getting these things out. And there's the Facebook link there for them on Red Feather Farms. So y'all got that. So awesome stuff. And yeah, if you haven't made plans to be out to the Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous, and you can make it, it's definitely worth the drive down to McAllister at the Southeast Expo Center. And I'll talk more about that here in just a second. Anyway, bro, any final questions or thoughts with Dewayne, or are we wrapping this up and sending this on out of here and letting him get on about his Saturday?
Right. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Dewayne, for agreeing to show up here. It's always a pleasure to be with you, whether it's online or offline. I know a lot of times we get wrapped up busy at these events and things like that. We don't get to sit down and talk to each other. Hopefully somewhere in all of this, we get to sit down after the busy day, maybe to just visit.
Right.
And anyway, so again, we just want to thank you for being here with us today, Dewayne.
Absolutely. All right. Well, in that case, it is time to begin to close things out. Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you. Yeah, you got at least one follower that joined up on Facebook now. So, but Scotty said he followed you. So see, somebody jumped on. There you go. But anyway, folks, we're going to start moving through our usual end of the programs. Again, definitely thanking Dewayne for joining us. But let's get right into this morning's Redneck Weather Report. And let's go over here and bring that. We'd be remiss if we did not play that. Maybe.
Good morning, Rednecks. It is 70 degrees this morning, September the 20th, 2025. We got an 8-mile-an-hour southern breeze, making it feel like it's 69 degrees. Dew point 65, and we're going to get to 89 today. God bless y'all. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good morning, Rednecks.
All right. Took a minute for my old internet to click off. There we go. All right. Yeah. Well, Terry's just said his voice is sounding better. It was really rough the other day, and I guess so. Sounded like he had a case of what I had this last week with the sinus allergies of the season taking over. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say fire cider.
Fire cider. That's it. Fire cider.
or hot and nasty.
Hot and nasty. Knock it right out.
Feather Farms.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, so let's get right into the next step here. That's right. It is time for the Brain Buster. No direct comment to the person that's our guest today, but how far up do bald people go when they wash their face? That's the question. How far up do bald people go when they wash their face?
That's a good question. Never thought about it.
Just what
but I think I would probably go all the way up. I guess we got somebody in here who could tell us You know, when you wash your face, Dewayne, how far up do you go? Do you go all the way up, or do you just wash the face area?
You just keep going. The job gets done.
There you go. That is awesome. I seen that, anyway. So moving right along, quote of the day. Right in line, as always, with what we usually talk about. Resistance to tyranny becomes the Christian and social duty of each individual. Continue steadfast and with a proper sense of your dependence on God. Nobly defend those rights which heaven gave, and no man ought to take from us. John Hancock said that. So I think it's appropriate when we start talking about some of the government overreach, like we talked about earlier, but that, it's okay to stand up against it. In fact, it's our duty, some would say. So that is the quote of the day. And now we're going to move into upcoming events and roll through those real quick. As we just mentioned, Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous, September 26th and 27th at the Southeast Expo Center, McAllister, Oklahoma. You can find them on Facebook at Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous. Tickets are on sale. They're $15 for adults, and I believe it was $6 for kids. I think it's what. Anyway, but either way, you can find that on Facebook at Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous. We are looking forward to there. We're going to be there. Dwayne's going to be there. Terry from TNT Homesteading over in the chat, and a whole bunch of other people. Jack, who was just doing the Redneck Weather Report, and a whole bunch of other folks going to be there. A lot of good speakers. Leon Sloan from Gardening with Leon is going to be there, and I know, of course, Dewayne is speaking. And let's see. Restoration Farms is going to be there speaking. I know that, let me see.
Monty Shrunk.
Monty Shrunk. Yes, that's what I was trying to think of. Suburban Sodbuster is going to be there talking about natural beekeeping. And there's a long list, but you can check out the schedule on the Facebook page. There's a lot going on. And as Dewayne mentioned, also the speaker panel at the end of each day. So looking forward to that as well. October 3rd to the 5th, the West Virginia Off-Grid Living, Homesteading, and Preparedness Expo, known as the WV Off-Grid Expo. It's at the West Virginia State Fairgrounds, Lewisburg, West Virginia. You can find more information at wvoffgridexpo.com. October 10th and 11th, Homesteaders of America Conference, Front Royal, Virginia. That one's the Granddaddy Mall. The lineup is crazy. Then October 17th and 18th is the Louisiana Homestead Conference in Bossier City, Louisiana. And that's what I have so far for 2025. 2026 already, Okie Homestead Expo, March 20th through the 21st at Mays County Fairground in Pryor, as usual. 10 Killer YouTube Meetup, April 17th through the 19th on Lake 10 Killer. Mid-America YouTube Meetup, May 15th through the 17th at Lake Texoma, and Modern Homesteading Conference in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, June 26th and 27th. So those can be found online if you just search those, and that's what I've got for upcoming events. And we're already halfway. That's already on page 2, and we're halfway into 2026 on dates. So things are filling up, and we'll do it. But anyway, folks, that's where we're going to land today. From Florida to Virginia to right here in Oklahoma, the fight for food freedom isn't just theoretical. It's happening in real barns with real families. But here's the flip side. Community will win. Farmers stand their ground, and legislators begin to listen. And we're just realizing that, people are realizing that homesteading isn't a hobby. It's a movement. Connects neighbors, protects our plates, and builds the kind of resilience you can't buy at Walmart. So as we head towards Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous, let's remember, as usual, as we are, hashtag stronger together, hashtag we connect and grow, or just connect and grow, hashtag, and I like this one, freedom tastes a whole lot better when it's homegrown. But think outside the big box store, shop local, and hashtag Tablers Unite. I think I grabbed a dozen of them. But anyway, again, a big thanks to our guest today, Dewayne Hall from Red Feather Farms, speaker, demonstrator, and proof that this movement has both grit and grace. And to you listening, don't just hear about food freedom, live it, defend it, and pass it on. And as we always say, be a blessing to those out there, whoever they may be. And until next time, don't wait for permission to feed your family. Okay. And, bro, let's get this thing on out of here. As we say at the end of every episode, prepare for the unexpected and
keep it local.
Oh. All right. Let's take it away, Hank.
No humans were harmed in the production of this podcast.